Life has a strange way of teaching us lessons. The more we try to control every little detail, the outcomes, the timing, the way people respond, the more frustrated and exhausted us become. We plan our lives down to the smallest steps, thinking that if we just try harder, push more, and never let go, things will finally fall into place. But what if I told you that the opposite is true? That the moment you stop forcing, stop grasping, and start trusting, everything begins to flow effortlessly? It's not about giving up. It's about understanding where your power truly lies. The Stoics mastered this way of thinking centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius once wrote about the importance of accepting what comes naturally and not wasting energy fighting against reality. He understood that struggling against things beyond our control only leads to suffering. The real battle is always within, training the mind to focus on what can be shaped and letting go of the rest. And that's exactly what we're diving into today, the mindset shift that can transform the way you approach success, relationships, and even your own peace of mind. Because if you're constantly stressed, feeling like no matter what you do, things just don't seem to go your way, there's a reason for that. You might be holding on too tightly to things that aren't meant to be controlled in the first place. This video isn't just another self-improvement talk. This is about something deeper, how to live with true confidence, to move through life with a sense of calm and certainty instead of anxiety and frustration. And trust me, if you watch until the end, you'll walk away with a completely different perspective on how to get what you want in life without chasing it desperately. Before we get into it, there's a simple, free favor I'll ask you. If you appreciate what we're doing here, hit the subscribe button. It takes less than a second, but it helps bring this content to more people who need it. Let's dive in. We spend so much of our lives obsessing over results, waiting for that job offer, hoping that relationship works out, stressing over whether our efforts will pay off. We tell ourselves that if we just work a little harder, push a little more, we can force things to go our way. But what happens? The more we cling to a specific outcome, the more anxious we become. The process stops feeling fulfilling, and our happiness becomes entirely dependent on something we can't fully control. And that's where we trap ourselves. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus taught that we suffer not because of what happens but because of our attachment to what we want to happen. He said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens as it should, and you will be happy." In other words, instead of tying your happiness to a specific outcome, focus on the process. Focus on what you can control, your actions, your discipline, your mindset, and let go of everything else. Think about an artist painting a masterpiece. If they're obsessed with making every brushstroke perfect, worrying about how others will judge their work, they'll never get into a creative flow. But when they detach from the final result and simply focus on the act of painting, something incredible happens. They become fully immersed in the moment, the work becomes effortless, and ironically, that's when they create their best art. The same principle applies to everything in life: work, relationships, personal growth. When you stop fixating on how things must turn out, you give yourself the freedom to enjoy the journey. This is especially true in relationships. Have you ever seen someone try too hard to impress another person? Their energy feels needy, desperate, almost forced, and what happens? It pushes people away. But when someone is confident, at ease with themselves, and not obsessed with a particular outcome, they naturally attract others. Why? Because they're not controlled by fear. They trust that whatever is meant to happen will happen. That's the power of detachment. Now let's talk about success. So many people believe that if they don't achieve a specific goal by a certain time, they've failed. They treat life like a rigid checklist: graduate by this age, make this much money, get married, achieve this level of success. And if things don't go according to plan, they spiral into self-doubt. But here's the thing: success isn't a straight path. It's full of twists, setbacks, and unexpected opportunities. If you're too attached to one outcome, you might miss an even better one that life is trying to bring your way. Take a moment and ask yourself, what am I holding onto too tightly? What goal, expectation, or outcome is causing me stress? Now imagine what would happen if you release that grip, not giving up, but trusting that whatever happens, you'll be okay. That's detachment. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop needing things to go a certain way to feel at peace. So how do you practice this in real life? First, remind yourself daily that outcomes are beyond your control. All you can control is your effort, your discipline, and your mindset. Second, reframe your thinking. Instead of "I need this to happen," shift to "I trust that whatever happens will be for my growth." And finally, focus on the present moment. The more you immerse yourself in now, the less power the future has over you. Life throws challenges at us constantly. Some days, everything flows effortlessly, and other days, it feels like the world is working against you. The difference between people who crumble under pressure and those who thrive isn't luck, it's mindset. The way you think shapes how you experience life. And if you don't learn to master your mind will master you. You can't always control what happens around you, the economy, other people's actions, unexpected obstacles. But you can control how you respond. That's where real power lies. When you shift your mindset from reacting to responding, everything changes. Psychologist William James, often called the father of modern psychology, once said, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." This is exactly what the Stoics taught. You don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. You don't have to let every difficult moment define you. Instead, you can train yourself to reframe situations, to step back and see them from a new perspective. Here's another example. Imagine you're going through a tough time at work. You keep making mistakes, your boss is breathing down your neck, and you feel like you're failing. One way to approach this is to think, "I'm terrible at this. I'll never get better. Maybe I'm just not good enough." That's a fixed mindset, and it traps you in self-doubt. But what if you change that thought? What if instead you said, "I'm learning. Every mistake is teaching me something. The pressure I'm feeling is helping me grow." That's a growth mindset, and it allows you to turn struggles into opportunities. The Stoics believed that every challenge is an opportunity to practice virtue, patience, resilience, wisdom. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." That means every struggle, every setback, every moment of frustration is actually training you to be stronger. Think of it like lifting weights. If you never push yourself, you never build strength. The same is true for your mind. But let's be honest, mastering your mindset isn't something that happens overnight. It takes daily practice. One simple way to start? Pay attention to your inner dialogue. Are you constantly feeding yourself thoughts of fear, doubt, and negativity? Or are you training yourself to see opportunities, to reframe situations, to stay calm in the face of uncertainty? Your mind is like a garden. What you plant is what grows. If you plant seeds of fear and anxiety, that's what will take over. But if you plant seeds of strength, clarity, and resilience, those will grow instead. Another way to strengthen your mindset? Train yourself to stay in the present. So much stress comes from obsessing over the past or worrying about the future. But the only thing you can ever control is this moment, right now. The next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, what can I do right now that will move me forward? That one question can snap you out of panic and bring you back to what matters. Patience is one of the hardest things to practice, especially when you're working towards something important. You've put in the effort, done everything right, and yet nothing seems to be happening. It's frustrating, isn't it? The world tells us that success should come quickly, that if we're not seeing instant results, we must be doing something wrong. But the truth is, life doesn't operate on our schedule. It moves according to its own rhythm. And trying to rush the process often leads to disappointment. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly." Think about that. Anything truly valuable, wisdom, strength, success, takes time to develop. Just like you can't force a tree to grow faster by pulling on its branches, you can't force life to give you what you want before the time is right. There is an order to things, and when you learn to trust that timing, you free yourself from so much unnecessary stress. Imagine a young artist who dreams of making a name for themselves. They work tirelessly, pouring their heart into their craft, but they are not seeing the recognition they want. At this point, they have two choices. They can either become frustrated, lose faith, and give up, or they can trust that every brushstroke, every piece of work, is preparing them for something greater, even if they can't see it yet. Those who trust the process keep going, and eventually, they find themselves exactly where they are meant to be. We live in a culture of instant gratification, fast food, fast information, fast success. We've been conditioned to believe that if something doesn't happen quickly, it's not worth waiting for. But some things must take time. Relationships, personal growth, mastering a skill, all of these require patience. Socrates once said, "To do is to be." This means that growth is in the process, not just the outcome. If you're always focused on when something will happen, you miss out on who you are becoming along the way.